Culture war rising. It's led by big tech and monster corporations influencing not only what you spend and what you buy, but what you think. The CEOs of Apple, Disney, Amazon, and other companies have injected their political views into corporations, global banks, and markets. And if you, your state, or charity disagree with their left-leaning values, you and they may face ridicule and financial retribution. Here to explain what is happening and why is Stephen Soukup. Mr. Soukup is vice president and publisher of the Political Forum and director of the Political Forum Institute. His new book is The Dictatorship of Woke Capital, How Political Correctness Captured Big Business. Stephen, it's a pleasure to have you with us. So before we get into Cook, Iger, and Bezos, others, tell us how Marxist socialist values, actually embraced by capitalist CEOs, became a priority for big business.
Well, it's a long story. It's a fascinating story, and it's a sad story. After World War I, in the early 1920s, a group of Marxists in Germany, in Italy, throughout Central Europe, sat down to think why their revolution never occurred. They had expected for the war to trigger the revolution. It didn't. And they had no idea why. And so they sat down to ponder it. And what they figured was that most of the people in society, and particularly the workers, were suffering from what they called false consciousness. They took education. They took a lot of mainline religion. They took entertainment. They took media. And the last standing cultural institution in the West was business. It was only a matter of time before they took business as well. And that's where we are today, with the cultural leftists finally getting their hands on the final institution of cultural transmission in the West.
And this is hard to believe because actually these wealthy CEOs of these companies have gained from capitalism. They're wealthy because of capitalism. So you mentioned how corporations used a divestment strategy to pressure the South African government into ending apartheid. Now, I reported on that many years ago from Johannesburg and Washington, and you don't mention it in your book, but tell us about the role corporations are playing in the BDS movement against Israel. Who's driving that?
Well, who's the same people who are driving that, who are driving most of the anti-Zionism and most of the aggression against Israel. And that's activists, political activists. The difference is that some corporations are susceptible to the pressure placed upon them by these political activists. And to be honest, it doesn't matter what their political views are. They need to satiate and to quiet the protesters. So we get a situation where an outside influence is affecting the way a corporation behaves, and in this case, affecting their behavior toward Israel.
You mentioned Apple's alliance with Disney, how their CEOs use their corporate economic clout to hurt religious liberties legislation in Georgia and to punish the state of North Carolina over its law on the use of gender-specific bathrooms. So tell us about that, and is this a trend? More to come?
Certainly, I think there's more to come. What we had, I believe it's 4 years ago, in the states of Georgia and North Carolina, were policies that were passed by the legislatures that were elected by the people and that were signed or threatened to be signed by the duly elected executives of the state that businesses decided they didn't like. And they stomped their feet and threw a fit and said, if you go ahead and enact the democratic will of the people, we're going to punish you. It came to a head 2 years after that in Georgia, when the people of Georgia elected a center-right legislature and a center-right governor who passed and then signed a fetal heartbeat law. And the entertainment industry in particular, led in this case by Disney, decided that they didn't particularly care for the people of Georgia exercising their political will that way. So they threatened the Georgians. So when Bob Iger of Disney and some of the other entertainment moguls said, you know what, I don't see how we're going to be able to do business in your state, what they were really saying was, I don't care about these 100,000 people who are employed by my industry in your state. What I care about is getting my political way.
Well, and I guess we're going to see this continue. It's really an anti-Christian, anti-Judeo-Christian morals and values at play here. So finally, quickly, how can people push back against this corporate political domination of our society? These CEOs have a lot of money,
Well,
a lot of clout.
Absolutely, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of clout, and they have the backing of the financial services industry, which has gotten heavily involved in this over the past couple of years. The way to push back, I think, is to inform yourself, understand what's happening, why it's happening, and who's making it happen. And then once you understand that, you can probably make small changes in your life to direct the money that you've earned in your life, that you're saving for your retirement, that you're saving for your kids' college education, that you can make small changes to utilize that more effectively to cut off these people who would use your wealth to advance their political ends.
Okay, use their tactic, hit them in the pocketbook. Your book is The Dictatorship of Woke Capital: How Political Correctness Captured Big Business. Stephen Soukup, thank you for sharing your insights with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.